Hello everybody and welcome back to the Chaos Gym. This is Rahul. We're going to do our third deck profile. Today we're going to do Mega Gardevoir Dragonite EX. You guys might hear some weird beeping in the background. I don't know where it's coming from. I haven't been able to pinpoint it. I might have to restart my computer later. But if you hear beeping, just ignore it for now. Sorry. We're going to go right into the deck. This is one of my favorite decks going into Fort Wayne, the deck that I think got the most out of evolutions, if not the only deck that got anything out of evolutions, because a lot of decks didn't really get anything, and evolutions isn't really much of a competitive set. It only gave us a couple of really good cards like Rattata, Dragonite EX, Raticate, Starmie Break, whatever. Nothing like game breaking. Except for in this deck. In this deck, we've got a couple of game-breaking cards, in my opinion. And the more I test with it, the more I like the deck. And I've just been getting consistent, strong results with it. And it would be, if I went to Fort Wayne, other than Mega Altaria, this would be one of my favorite decks going into the event. This does struggle with big HP Pokemon like Mega Altaria. Yeah, so we'll just jump right in. Dragonite EX, its ability is Pull Up. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you get 2 basic Pokemon out of your discard and put them in your hand. Now, that's why this card is nuts. So what you can do, now with Gardevoir, because you are discarding so many cards, using Despair Ray to hit that big 190 damage knockout or whatever, you can pretty much Super Odd back Dragonite Hoopa, Ultra Ball for Hoopa, Dragonite, and then just fill your bench all over again, which is absolutely insane. You're going from no bench to a full bench with just 1 Super Odd and 1 Ultra Ball, or just like having the Hoopa in your hand, Super Odding back like 2 Dragonites and another basic, which is nuts. So you're going to keep Despair Raying and doing tons and tons of damage, and Dragonite helps you consistently max that output, and it just increases the consistency of the deck in general, and I really like it. Another popular addition, which I love in this deck, is Rattata. Our cute little friend here has an ability, Mischievous Fang. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may discard all Pokemon tool cards attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. Now you might say, why is this good? It just gets shut down by Garbodor and you're all moving on with the rest of your life. Right. You're very right in that aspect. But where it does excel is when you're dealing with decks that don't play Garbodor, and decks that rely on Fighting Fury Belt, Floatstone, to keep their small attackers above a certain HP threshold. So in the case of, say, like Volcanion, they've got a Fighting Fury Belt on a baby Volcanion, putting it at 170. You knock that off, you no longer have to discard 6 Pokemon to knock it out. You only have to discard 2. So it's a resource battle you're fighting, and Rattata can make all the difference, because coupled with the Dragonite and Super Odds, you have access to like 13 Rattatas. So you can get rid of 13 tool cards, or you can do the things like pull up a Garbodor or get rid of it with Rattata, get the tool off, and then just one-shot it, or just literally just get rid of the tool and leave it stranded, or pull up a Hoopa and leave it stranded. You can do cute shenanigans with Rattata. I really like the card. That's why I play 2. The other option to do is play 1 of Rattata, 1 of Raticate. The Raticate does, for 1 call, is 60 times the number of special energy in the discard. It's a non-EX attacker. It deals with Plume Box to an extent, but like consistency again, right? There's 4 Shimmy EX. I really like. You need to have 4 in this deck. I feel like because you're running a very straightforward consistency draw engine that doesn't really need to be tinkered with. So yeah, there's a 4/3 Mega Gardevoir line. 4 being it's a very optimal number, just getting set up and going nuts pretty much. It's like probably the best line, I want to say. You could do a 3/3 and play another basic of your choice or another consistency card, but I think 4/3 just makes it so I will always have my Gardevoirs when I need them, even if I need to discard some with Despair Ray or with Sycamore or something, whatever. 2 Hoopa. You could go to 3. I prefer 2, just because 1's prize, you get the other. if there is and you just go nuts with 2. A third is probably recommended. I just haven't felt the need for 3 throughout testing, because with Dragonite and Super Rod being cards, you are less likely to ever use the third. Yeah, sorry, I bit my tongue there. Let's jump right into the trainer line. Now we've got 2 escape rope. It helps deal with like just weird cards in general, and decks can't really play around escape rope right now in the current format as it stands, because you don't really have any bad or anything worthless to bench in decks anymore. Like in our case, we've got Rattata, we've got like Dragonite or whatever, and like those are fat guys that get stuck in the active spot. Dragonite, Hoopa. But like a lot of decks don't have those, and like against me when I was playing Dark Giratina, escape rope was literally the scariest thing ever, because you're forcing me to put up like my Hoopa, or you're forcing me to put up my Shaman, and I'm either giving you 2 prizes or I'm giving you one of my attackers, and that's the most terrifying thing that can happen, because going down 2 prizes is just absolutely scary. On top of that, we've got 2 Fairy Drop. I really like Fairy Drop as a card in this deck. It's one of my favorites. It heals a vanilla 50 off of any Pokemon with a Fairy Energy attached, so it makes numbers really weird for a lot of decks to 2-shot. You're making a 2-shot into a 3-shot on your Mega Gardevoir, and doing that 2 times means they have to 6-shot your 2 Gardevoirs, and you are 2-shotting them in return. So ideally, you are winning these prize race. Yeah. There's 2 Mega Turbo just to continuously set up, get rolling, whatever you need to do. Set up a second Gardevoir like on the fly right then and there. Usually you'll set up your first 2 Gardevoirs without the use of Mega Turbo, because they won't get knocked out by the 3rd Gardevoir. That's when Mega Turbo comes in handy to get it set up like instantly and get yourself rolling. There's 3 Super Rod. Originally the deck played Karen. I hate Karen in this deck. I hate the fact that it takes up a supporter spot for your turn, and it's just mediocre. I tried out Brock's Grid for a little bit, and that card also seemed extremely mediocre. Like, why am I wasting my supporter for the turn? I'd rather be playing a Sycamore. I'd rather be playing a Lysander. I'd rather be playing a Hex right now. So 3 Super Rods seemed like a very good answer. You are putting cards back into your deck. You are abusing Dragonite EX, and you just, most of the time, you're missing energies. So having all of that, you have 3 Super Rods and 2 Dragonites for recovery, and 2 Mega Turbos. You're playing essentially a 1/6 of your deck is recovery cards. You don't need a supporter. Like, Brock's Grid can go in the deck, I just don't like it. It's a personal preference. Through my testing, it's provided, or seemed to be quite useless. If you think it's great, go for it. I'm not going to discourage you. Brock's Grid and Karen are both excellent additions to the deck. In my opinion, I hate them, and that's a stylistic player choice. So that's me. And I'm assuming you guys are here to see my thoughts and stuff, so hate it with me. There's 4 Malefo Ultra Balls, super standard, super consistency. 4 VS Seekers. Again, just super consistency, it's just there for, using your stuff. 2 Hex Maniac. Popping off through your deck in the first turn and then hexing on turn 1 is actually just insane. So having that option is pretty ridiculous. I could see myself going to 1 Hex, 2 Lysander, but I think Hex is a much more important card because Greninja as a deck. Giratina has been extremely popularized thanks to the members of our Chaos Gym, who all took it to a top 8 finish, 3 of us, and multiple to like a top 64 finish as well. So that's extremely scary to deal with. So Hex is really good in that aspect. And turn 1 Hexing stops a lot of decks because they rely on Hoopa. Also beats Volcanion. If you just continuously hex them and keep knocking out things, they're just like, oh, what do? 1 Lysander. Could go to 2. I just haven't found the space for it. Yeah, it's good. Lysander just Lysander things. 1 N. You want to have the N just for shuffling stuff back in, consistency stuff. You're never actually going to be behind. Like, if you're ever behind as this deck, you're doing something very, 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 very wrong. Or you're playing against Scizor, in which case you've already lost. But yeah, you should never be behind, so the N's usually just for like resource management more than anything, or leveling the playing field if your opponent's got like a 10 card hand or something like that, something ridiculous. 3 Sycamore. Originally, the list played two, but after playing a couple games with it, I just always found that I wanted the third. The consistency cards just nuts. Having the difference between having the second and the third is astronomical. That we don't have battle compression, that kind of stuff. So you're actually just digging your entire first turn to hit that Hex or hit that Sycamore. I've never found myself digging for an N or a Lysander on my first turn. Always Hex or Sycamore. So like having extra copies of those just makes everything better. But I would never go up above 3, I think, in this deck, because it's like a 4th is just a dead card. I'm never playing 4 Sycamore in this deck. I'm never, ever, ever. There's 4 Skyfield. Really good stadium. Stadium wars are huge. You want to have a full bench to keep popping things off. And the part about this deck that I really love is you're not really punished by playing Skyfield, because a lot of decks just go Parallel City, oh, you can lose all your basic Pokemon, but you're like, no, I already discarded them. What are you going to do about it? And they're like, oh, no, Parallel City anyway, and you're like, alright, second Skyfield, pop off again, part 2, and they're like, oh, man. So, this deck is pretty not affected by Parallel City, and it's just nutty how good it is. So, 4. 3 Spirit Link, you could go to 4. I like 3 just because, well, I don't have space for a 4th. And 3's good. You'll get there when you need to. Like with 4 mail and all these shamans and all this draw cards, you'll find what you need. You'll get there. I like promise you. And there's 8 fairy. 8 is just a good number. 7 feels like way too little. And anything like 9 and up is just like, do I really need these? Nah. Now that I've given you everything about deck, let me hop into the matchups. Scizor is a very popular auto loss. You will lose to Scizor, no matter how bad of a start they get. They literally have to open Shaman, draw pass, and lose. I've tested that. There is nothing you can do to make that matchup better. It's actually impossible. Mega Rayquaza, very bad. Volcanion, pretty good. You've got Hex Maniacs, and you are one-shotting them. Besides that, Greninja, pretty good. You are hitting good numbers. You are Hex Maniacing them. They cannot do anything to you. Darkrai Giratina, slightly favorable. Now, I say slightly because the list that we were playing in Orlando is well equipped to deal with a lot of these cards. You are forcing... There's no way that the Gardevoir player will ever get a one-shot on a Darkrai. So you are instantiating the two-shot war. And you are setting up your Garbodor, so you're saying, hey, you can't use your abilities post Super Rod. And if I start ending you to like 2 cards, what is your out? Your out is to draw into setting up, I guess, like your at that point probably third Gardevoir. So it's a positive matchup for sure, but not as positive as people think. If you are a decent Gardevoir player against a decent Darkrai Giratina Gardevoir player, the Gardevoir player will win 100% of the time. But if you're a decent Gardevoir player against a great Darkrai Giratina Gardevoir player and they draw pretty well, you're probably going to lose. But this deck is a lot more autopilot than Darkrai Giratina Gardevoir, so I wouldn't be worried. Other big matchups to think about: Rainbow Road should be favorable. It's really weird they can one-shot you. But you can keep hexing and they just kind of get stuck. Gyarados, that's a weird one, but that should be favorable. No one should be playing that deck anymore, but that should be favorable. Like, worst comes to worst, you literally can attach an energy to attach it, Lysander up one of their Magikarps and kill it. And they're like, oh, whoa. I'm hyped today, I don't know why, guys, sorry. Other than that, there in the Vileplume box deck is a weird matchup, but I think you can deal with it if you set up faster than they do and continuously chain hexes and just one-shot things. That's pretty much covering everything. If there's a matchup that I missed, just let me know. Those are all the ones that I can think of off the top of my head. Altaria you'll lose to. Altaria can just out-heal you. So that's pretty much everything I think for this video. Gardevoir is probably the hottest deck going into Fort Wayne, so keep your eyes out for Gardevoir. I expect like 3 in the top 8, unless everyone decides to hard counter it or no one plays it. I think this is the top deck to watch out for going into Fort Wayne, so everyone I hope you watch this. I hope you experiment with your own lists. I hope you at least play games against it, because I wouldn't go into the tournament without playing any games against it. So thank you guys so much for watching. Um, I'll probably be low on content for the next couple of weeks. I apologize. It's simply because I've college finals coming up, so I'll be a little busy, preoccupied. So I might be a little slow. I'm gonna try to pre-record some stuff this weekend and just have it so I have a constant flow of stuff coming out. But if I don't, I apologize, and please don't hold it against me. And I'll be back soon-ish. As soon as break hits, I'm here. I'm here for you guys every single day. But I'll start like a schedule, set up something. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you guys so much for all the continuous support, and thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like, please subscribe, and share your thoughts. Thank you so much.